Hey everybody, Bearded Rogue here. It's the start of day 4 of Gen Con, but this video is about day 3 of Gen Con. I just didn't get a chance to record it until now because my day 3 didn't really end until about 4 a.m. and at that point it was sleepy time. So Saturday was easily the busiest day, I think, as far as people went. The crowds were a bit more dispersed. There wasn't as much of a rush on the hall as there was on Thursday, but families were here. People who couldn't get the week off finally showed up for the first time. It was incredibly packed. We had all of the demo tables for Renegade full the whole time, and at some points had to actually turn people away because we didn't have anywhere to set up additional games. Everything's going really well. I'm so happy to be able to continue pitching and setting up Ex Libris. I'm now pretty darn good at Clank and Clank in Space setup. Narrowed that down to a pretty small window, so next time I go to play those games at home, it's not going to be very difficult for me at all to get everybody up and running. Yesterday did all my run-throughs of the Artist Alley area of Gen Con. There's some absolutely amazing stuff in there and some absolutely amazing human beings. There's a lot of people I know who just kind of ignore the artist section of conventions, and I think you're really doing yourself a disservice by doing that. The people there are absolutely phenomenal, and the stuff that you can get is really cool. More and more artists are carrying things other than prints, things like t-shirts and play mats and other things that you can purchase that can help you support them in their work, and at the same time be more than just something that you hang on your wall. So yeah, really cool. Go to Artist Alley. The publishers here have all been super friendly before con hours, after con hours, being very respectful of the lunches that other exhibitors get because they know they're short. So they're really good about jumping in and handling things for everybody, but I feel like with an exhibitor badge, they move just a little bit faster and take just a little bit more care of me because they know that I'm going through what they're going through, and that's pretty cool. Didn't get to play a lot of games last night. Got to play test Stocko trucks pretty late last night, and the version that I was wanting to do that would cut out all of the money components, all the chips, really doesn't work. We played it. It functions as a game, but there's so many ways that it could end in ties or cause just negative play experiences. There's no way for that to work really. So I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board there. The current version with money works just fine and is functional and produces the kind of results I want. It's just a little bit fiddly with the amount of cash that's going back and forth and all of that stuff. So some people find it very jarring to go from the stock trading side of things with the counting chips in addition to then the spatial reasoning side of things with the puzzly movement of the taco trucks on the board. So that doesn't work very well for them. I played prototype from Weird Giraffe Games last night called Observance, which is all about constellations and astronomy and observing constellations in the sky and naming them and all of that stuff. Very scientific take on the theme. It plays a little bit like a Splendor Century Spice Road engine builder type game. Um, it's still in its very, very early stages. Everything's still basically printer paper, um, and nothing's really been added artwork wise or anything like that. So it was good to get involved on something as early as that, and I really enjoy playing prototypes. I really genuinely do. Failed to mention this in the vlog yesterday, but I played a game, a little dice placement engine builder game called Lawn Masters from Aaron Wilson that I really, really enjoyed, not just because I won, but the idea behind it is really sound. I think there's a little bit of fiddliness that can be called out, and I think that the scoring is a little bit off as far as like a point here or a point there. The exponential bonuses are way better than the static bonuses, but that's all things that will be sorted out very, very quickly and very easily. So that was a really cool thing. My 18 card game continues. I think I've got everything narrowed down now to how I want it to be. I'm probably going to have to give it a different or better theme at this point, but the mechanisms themselves work really well. And now that we've refined things, I think it's going to be a really, really interesting little game with multi-use cards. So I haven't really done anything that small before, so I'm excited that I'm finally trying my hand in the 18 card arena, since that's something that there is a market for. Button Shy has proven it. I don't know if this is specifically a Button Shy game. Maybe if we can get the right theme onto it, it could work. They really like clever mechanisms with interesting and different themes, so that's kind of probably what I'm going to be looking for next, is what do I want to skin the game as going forward. I don't know, that's about it. It's pretty been a pretty chill day, really, honestly, on Saturday, compared to the previous days. Even with the slam, everybody's tired. I think everybody's moving a little slower. Everything's taking not as much energy to deal with. It's Gen Con. Gen Con is not one of my favorite conventions, and I'm probably not going to be back again next year based on just in general my experience here. Like, Gen Con is Gen Con, and it's not the type of convention that I like. It's not the type of convention where you sit down with people for hours and play all of the prototypes in their kit and give each other feedback and hang out for hours on end. Gen Con is the touchstone convention where you see everybody for 5 to 10 minutes, and that just has to be good enough. You get your hug, your handshake, maybe sit down and play a game, and then that may be the only time you see them for the whole convention. There's so many people here. There's so many things going on. Everybody's just going to be like ships crossing in the night. It's one of the reasons why I love the Nerd Night event, because it's very easy to point people to a multi-hour long event, in this case 6 hours, to meet, so that even if all you do is see them, you're going to see them for a more prolonged period of time in the same space. It makes a real difference to actually like sit with people. Going out to dinner with people is really good here, because it's almost guaranteedly going to take you longer than a few minutes, simply because the restaurants are so slammed. So if you really want to hang out with people, dinner is a really good way to do it. Sitting down and playing a game with people is not out of the question, but you're very unlikely to get large blocks of people's time at Gen Con, and that's kind of the opposite of what I want out of a convention. Things like BGG Con and Origins really work better for me. Unpub works better for me in the long run, but there's more people here at Gen Con, so you are more likely to see a larger cross-section of the gaming community, than at one of those conventions. Either way, um, Gen Con has some weird rules. The Indianapolis Convention Center is very, very, like, I'd say overkill on all of their measures, you know, assigning fire marshals to doors and not allowing people to use certain exits after certain times because somebody may sneak in. Like, other conventions just don't have that kind of draconian security measures, especially when it comes to the exhibitors. Like at Origins, if you're an exhibitor, like you pretty much come and go out of the convention hall as you please, as long as the hours of the convention hall are on. You know, the exhibitors get an hour before and an hour after the convention, and you can walk in and out of any door you want. Everything is, you know, wide open for you during that reasonable time period. At Gen Con, second the hall closes at 6, they lock all of the doors but one. They don't allow you to walk between the halls, even if you're carrying very large, heavy boxes full of things back to your booth. They really have zero sympathy, and it's kind of feels that way about the whole convention. Like Gen Con runs the convention very much in a detached, separate manner. It's not doesn't feel like a passion project for the area or for the people who run it or the people who are staffed on it. Whereas Origins very much feels like a down-to-earth family gathering type event where everybody understands that everybody else is human and doesn't try to apply the rules mercilessly like a club to beat people with. That's just my experience. Gen Con's fine for what it is. It's where everybody shows off their new shit, where everybody says hi to each other, and where you know, a whole bunch of people go to buy a whole lot of things. And buying a whole lot of things has never been my goal with a convention. So Gen Con really isn't geared towards me. Much like how every game isn't geared towards everybody, every convention isn't geared towards everybody, and Gen Con just isn't my convention. The people here is always amazing. The gaming community is fantastic, and I can't state that enough. But I probably won't be back next year with the flights and the travel and the hotel booking and the fuss and how soon it is after Origins. I don't know if I'll be inclined to make it work next year, even with the ability to see everybody here. I'm already guaranteedly going to Unpub next year. I've got my table, all that's sorted out. I'm going to try to make it to Origins again next year because that's kind of my home convention, although we'll see if some of the cons in Seattle that come up between now and then are ones that are going to become permanent fixtures. Seattle's much closer to me now that I'm in Portland, so going up in January for things like OrcaCon or attending the Emerald City Comic Con and stuff like that is totally within reason now, whereas before those were conventions that were way, way out of scope for what I was about. But we'll see. Either way, Unpub's already on the map. Origins probably will be, and BGG Con, God willing. Next year they'll have expanded BGG Con, and it won't be the same weekend as PAX Unplugged, so you know, that might work. PAX Unplugged being East Coast means that it'll be further away from where I'm at, so BGG Con will probably remain the one that I go to, but who knows? Who knows what it'll be like. I'll probably give PAX Unplugged a chance at some point. Maybe the first time I can't get into BGG Con. But yeah, gonna go ahead and end this one because it's a little bit longer and a little bit rambly. Those are just some of my thoughts on Gen Con and some of my thoughts on how this convention is and a few of the things that I've done. Today is going to be a shorter day. Everything ends at 4, and then there's cleanup, which is infinitely easier than setup, especially when, like Renegade, you sold out of half of everything you produce. That makes for smaller pallets and a lot easier cleanup when most of the stuff that you brought with you is gone. But yeah, that's where we're at. Hope you've been enjoying these vlogs on the road. Obviously, tomorrow I fly back home and we'll be doing more standard bearded rogue style sitting at my gaming table vlogs for the rest of the month. But glad that I was able to actually get something recorded every day and get it out to you guys, and continue my Vlogust tradition of a video every day. So thank you guys very much for watching, if you still are, and yay Gen Con. Bye guys.